You just got to give us all credit.
Look at these awesome people out here. All right, so welcome to everybody. My name is Colleen Qvist. Thank you very much to Nolene, who invited me along to do this. I found that it has certainly been, well, actually, it's not even a week. We haven't even hit a week yet. And
no, it feels like a month already, though.
Yes. It is really about learning things and learning things fast and putting yourself out there and going out there. It's quite funny having you smoking in a meeting, Guy.
No,
we can't even complain about it.
No, I'm loving it because I'm trying to run my own. I'm a member of a couple of other groups, and
yes.
And I asked Nolene when we first came on, when she hosted, if it was all right if I had a cigarette, because a couple of the other groups don't like it. And I said, well, I don't know how it's affecting you, but all I know is I'm running out of cigarettes. So maybe in a few days' time I'll stop smoking because I would have run out of cigarettes. But anyway, I'm in my own study, and I hope you don't mind me puffing away.
You can puff away. I mean, if we're allowed our water or our alcoholic drinks, you may puff away.
Coffee?
All right.
Yes, good.
Yes, exactly. All right, so let's get the show on the road. So today's topic is basically that it's okay not to know. And when you think of it, we have a few days ago, really, we all had routines. We would go out there every morning. We would all get out of bed every morning, have breakfast. Some of us would go to the gym. You would go and some of us would take children to school, head off to an office if you worked in an office, meet the same people. You know, I found when I worked in an office, you would arrive the same time every time as people and park next to the same people and go, oh, hello, hello. And head off into the office, stand with your coffee. How was yesterday? What happened with? And then a lot of people would head off into different meetings and spend the entire day in and out of board meetings. All can't do this, run, live off calendars and diaries and that kind of thing. And then come a certain time, it would be, okay, now we reverse it. Now we go, leave the office, reverse out of the same parking, head on home to gym. Just admitting somebody. Head off and with children, collect children from school, sign homework diaries, have you done this, have you done that, mom, I need glue, all those kind of things. And then make dinner, eat dinner, head off to bed. And a lot of people would then continue working for a while. Off you go to bed. And a few hours later, you repeat it all over again. And that was the routine that we were all used to, that we knew how it worked. Of course, you may not have liked the routine. I'm sure many of you would have complained and said, oh, if only I don't have to sit in this traffic, or if only I don't have to sit in so many meetings, or I never get an opportunity to see my children, or when last did I speak to my parents? And if like magic, some people would say bad magic, I've seen all sorts of strange versions, but we suddenly lost the routine. We have been ripped out of the worlds that we knew and deposited in, choop, here you are, in this universe that we know nothing about, that we don't know how it works. And so the automatic thing in the beginning was to go, no, we're going to go back to the world that we know. And I picture people banging on doors to say, let me in, let me in. You know the movies where you get locked out and you're banging on the door to say, let me in, let me in. And a lot of people have then said, okay, fine, we can't go back into that door because it seems to be permanently locked. And so I'll just sit here with my eyes shut until the 16th of April. And then it'll just go back. We'll be magicked. I don't know how many of you, I'm looking to see how old you are. How many of you remember the faraway tree where there was that world at the top and it would turn around and then you would wait for it to come back again so that you could hop out of it? Well, a lot of people are waiting for the 16th to hop back into the top of the tree. And it's fine. We're fine. We'll just sit here and we'll wait for that hole to line up and we're just going to hop back into the top of the tree. We're just going to hop back into the world that we knew. Then people start talking and they start to say, well, what happens if it isn't the 16th of April? What happens if it's extended? Gee whiz, okay? And here also, you can see I see in pictures, but I also, we look around now, you sort of like, and you have a little look in the universe that you're now in, thinking, oh, okay, but, and we don't know the rules in this new world. We don't know how it works, because suddenly work is at home and home is at work. Suddenly there's no escape to go to gym. There's no escape to go and sit in that board meeting with different people. There's no different board meetings. There's no different venues. We're all just squished together in this one little place. And it's a bit like, you know, when you go to those fancy dinners and you're looking at all these glasses and all these cutlery and all this thing, and you're thinking, oh, okay, let me look next door to see which one I use first. And then you're looking around and you're looking over there to think, okay, where are we starting here in this setting? And unfortunately, as we're looking over to see, oh, I'm sure she'll know, you find that the person's looking at you going, and you realize we all don't know. And this is where the issue's coming in that we're all looking at each other to say, okay, Marguerite, do you know the rules of this game? Mandy, do you know, how does this work? Okay, maybe Impo knows, eh? And we're frantically looking at each other. So in the work setting, you're looking to management to say, okay, please tell us what's going on. Sales teams are going, okay, we're waiting here to find, management's going to tell us what's happening. Family members are looking to, okay, I'm sure dad knows. I'm sure mom knows. Mom's looking at dad, dad's looking at mom, and we're all going, oh, don't know. And so from there, it's almost, we are going through so many emotions where you've got the unknownness. That's a new word. Yes, unknownness of, there's the anger, there's the unknownness, there's the sadness, heaviness, anxiety. A lot of people are not sleeping at night. A lot of people are looking at themselves in the mirror thinking, phew, and I didn't even have anything to drink. Yeah, we've all know that one. Okay, and from there, it's about that it's okay not to know, because we have gone from a world that we knew absolutely how it worked. There were rules, there was understanding. Children went to bed at your home in a specific time. Homework happened like this. On Wednesdays, we went to netball, and on Fridays, we did that. We all know that we had a team meeting on Tuesdays, or we had a whatever. We knew how it worked. And now suddenly there are no rules. So in homes, you've got, in my home, for instance, I have a daughter who's 22 and a husband who's now done month end, sitting at our dining room table, which is far away in my house, but I can hear. Okay. And he has been very proud of himself in that he has come up with these different music playlists every day, which we can also hear. But anyway, he's happy with how he's working. And I don't know how the neighbors are feeling, but not my problem on that side, because they're living a lot closer to where he's sitting. But it's also about now working out, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? How are we going to work together? Often where people are going wrong is this, because you feel like we have to know, okay? We're also condemning ourselves or being hard on ourselves because, why don't you know how to do this? Nolene says to Nolene. Marguerite says, what's wrong with you that you don't know how to do this, okay? And we're having these little wars with ourselves of why don't you know? What's wrong with you? And we unfortunately don't have any history of this. We can't look back to a time of going, oh, that's how you did it. Because, you know, like my daughter was saying, have we ever had lockdown? And, you know, ultimately for people who are old enough, we had curfews, but we've never ever had lockdown. So we don't have anything to go back to say, how does this work? And yes, maybe we would all gone or moved towards a situation where we would have gradually gone to work at home, or gradually gone to find out things, or so like, oh, on Mondays we'll find out. But we haven't done anything gradually. One second we went to work and the next second we didn't. And so that is where we need to actually communicate with each other more. And that's what I'm saying, is we need to own up to each other of saying, it's okay to feel lost. It's okay not to know. You know, Marika, we've never done this before. What do you think? How should we? And that whole hierarchy and dictatorship of this is the way you do it, This is how you need to do it. That's what we need to get rid of. And we need to be able to communicate of, hey, Margie, I don't know. What do you think? How do we do it? And even our president has not dictated. He has consulted. He has gone to people and said, how do you think we should do this? What shall we do? Where shall we go from here? Okay. And from there, you then have a plan together, because together we're more powerful than if we just decided on our own.
May I come in then?
Yes,
Colleen?
you may go.
Fantastic. Yeah, I agree that our lives have been turned upside down, but what I've been trying to train salespeople and people generally, I say, you are the message. And what message are you sending out at this point in time? What are you communicating? How are you communicating? And in what tone?
Yes.
And so whether that was back in the day when we were working together in a physical environment, it's still, I believe, very important now. Alongside that is, we all got to go and redesign ourselves.
Yes.
And I suppose one of the redesignings from my point of view, the silver fox has got grey hairs. I've learned a whole lot of technology in 4 or 5 days. So I just put it out there. I've sent everyone my email address on the chat. I don't know if it's come through, but if you'd like me to send you some slides, you just need to email me and I'll send you the slides. So that's up to you. But I agree with you. It's I don't think it's going to be extended. I don't see the virus going away until they get a vaccine, which could be in months' time. So our new physical distancing, as I call it, is going to come into play. And I would say, yeah.
So on there is that, yes, some people can imagine what it will be like in a month, 2 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year's time. And yes, we will look back on this time and see that was history. We did write it. And gee, we were part of it. But it is about supporting people through the system as they're going through the system. I agree with you, Guy, in terms of salespeople, where yes, it's about what message are you spreading, because you spread it from one customer to the other. And by the time you've heard it 8 times, you've become your message. So how uplifting is it? How different is it? But it's also about supporting people through that whole transition, where we're transitioning into finding a new normal. And it is about moving forward with the normal. So come the day that we do have to go back to work, or we do have to go forward to this new world, as the Jack Russell tries to get out the door. Please let him out. Husband. Yes. So it is about us. We're then going to resent leaving this comfort zone, because as much as it's not a comfort zone now, it's going to become a comfort zone. Yeah.
Sure.
So how is everybody?
Question.
Yes.
Sorry. I have a question coming from a control freak personality. How do you suggest we fight the urge to want to know? Because you're saying it's okay not to know, but then what if you're a control freak and you're used to knowing, and then you go out of your way to want to know?
Okay, so you can fast forward the knowing, but ultimately it's about knowing what you're in control of and what's in your internal locus of control versus your external locus of control. So we can have pretty educated guesses, and your futurists and whatever are going to say, okay, we will open again on the 16th or we won't. But for us, it's about preparing your mind for maybe we won't. What does that mean? How will we prepare for it? I've been encouraged to see that some people have said day 1, day 2, day 3. They haven't gone 21, 20, 19, 18, because that is going to upset people tremendously. So we might get to day 21 and then do 22, 23, that kind of thing. But in terms of control, it's about saying what are you in control? And as I spoke to people this morning, it's about saying, don't think that we know the answers, because we don't know the answers. And it's about saying to yourself, okay, what assumptions are you making in terms of being the control freak? Basically, what you refer to as the control freak is you had a system in a day that you knew how it worked.
Yes.
Yes. And so now it's about encouraging or finding a new system, a new way. Because you've probably lived in a very big comfort zone, and Paul, where you knew how it all worked. It all lined up exactly how's it, and it all just a bit like dominoes. Your dominoes all fell over at the same time every single day, just like they have been trained to.
Yeah, definitely.
And now you've walked in and flipped. Not only are the dominoes not falling away, they say, no, we're not playing dominoes anymore. We're playing snakes and ladders, eh? And you're standing there stomping, say, but I know dominoes. I want dominoes. I demand my dominoes back. And they say, no, snakes and ladders. Yes.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's going to take a lot of time in personal training, but I guess we have to unlearn a couple of things as individuals to try and adapt to this whole thing.
Yes. So adaptability and horizon scanning and what-if thinking are the skills for the future. And unfortunately, the future hit us a lot faster than we thought it would. And, you know, there's nothing like trying to say to companies, okay, what technology are you bringing in? Can your people work from home? No, they can't. You know, we have trackers in cars. We have, I mean, the pharmaceutical industry is terrible for all that kind of thing, of tracking people. Now you've got entire sales forces sitting at home, and managers are saying, oh, what are we supposed to do with them? Sales teams are there to sell. And now if sales teams can't sell, can they sell in a different way? How can they, what do we do with them? Yes, we'll pay them, but do they just sit and stare out the window for the day? Or do we set them assignments? Do we get them to study things? Do we get them to do online? I mean, I was listening to one rep who was saying, oh my heck, you should have seen the webinar we had to listen to today. So it's this whole period of just not knowing. But it's okay, because we will work out the next comfort zone and foster. Today is day 6.
Colleen, look, yeah, I agree with not knowing, but and let me just talk salespeople now generally. In South Africa, that's the point. They say, oh, there, I had to listen to another webinar or whatever. And most of them are a pain in the arse. And the reason for that, most of them, 70% of them don't hit their targets. And then they complain and wonder, and they don't do upskilling. And so if I had a rep and I heard that comment, I would call him aside and have a little chat about, this is a time to upskill. This is a time to look at how you might not know this now, which is fine, but over the next period, you need to know X, Y, Z and what you're doing. Yeah, I know a company that took 6 of their reps on a 6-month journey, and they had to work weekends, a whole lot, read certain amount of books, etc., do certain amount of webinars, etc. And the 6 of them grew their sales in 6 months by 100 million. So, yes. Yeah, the like-minded people like your audience today, I think will get it. Those people that are going to wait to be driven or led, it gets back to their personal leadership.
So Guy, I can see that you are very target driven, you're very end driven, you see the end in mind. And a lot of other people don't see the end. And so it's about journeying with people for them to do the journey to get where we need to be and where they need to go. So sometimes when you shout at a rep and say, oh, but you have to do this, you have to this, you have to, that's where they rebel. And it's just about, well, I can't, I'm not. But when you say to somebody, hey, you know, it's not that we're going there, we're just going to do a step from here to there. And as we start, it's a bit like from when you go from crawling to walking. It's not like, baby, you have to walk, you have to walk, you have to walk. It's, wow, look at the little steps. Gee whiz, you picked yourself up today. You walked a millimeter, you fell down. Yay, wonderful. And we rejoice in the things that didn't work, and we rejoice in the bits that did work. But ultimately, the baby walks. But it's not about starting off with this newborn saying, you will walk, child. It's gradual. And so we going back, this will become a comfort zone. What I was saying is that it's day 6, feels like day 66 sometimes. But day 6 doesn't feel like day 1 did. Well, for me, it doesn't. Does day 6 feel the same as day 1 felt?
No, even yesterday doesn't feel the same as today.
Yeah.
And I know I'm also one of those salespeople. So I've been in sales and marketing for like forever. And I'm one of those people that say, you do it this way. And I'm going, oh, really? Okay, I'll do it some other way.
Yeah.
So it's you're having to look at the different nuances of the different personalities. Each salesperson is different. So
Yes.
the same way, and each person, not even salesperson, but each person is different. And I think it's from being in the training and development space for forever, this medium now, as in a full-on webinar with 100 different people, is different than some people actually need the one-on-one session.
Yes.
And we have to be cognizant of that as trainers, as people, as executives, as leaders in businesses. We have to be cognizant of that.
And I totally agree with you, Nolene.
With the team of people here, what's important is you know what personality style you are. And if a leader, one of your bosses, doesn't communicate to you what his leadership, what his personality style is, I would go about asking him. That might put him in a bit of an uncomfortable predicament, but so be it. As Nolene said, you've got to understand the personalities, and in a team of people, there's 5.
Okay, but remember, Guy, you're then speaking about people who have got self-awareness to a certain level where they're able to do that. And yes, your manager, of course, may not be a man. It may be a woman.
Yeah.
You may have a manager who's 22. You may have a manager who's never done your job and hasn't a clue what it's like to be out on the road as a salesperson or a VA or a graphic designer, for instance, or a lawyer for that matter. And so it is really about supporting people in the journey and realizing that we can't, it has to be in the context that the person's in. So what I'm asking you is to support each other in the context that you're in, not where you think you should be. So support people for day 6 and their day 6, as opposed to what you think your day 6 should be or where we will be on day 54. And ultimately, just as much as we're not going to shout at the baby because they can't walk on day 2, it's about holding the space to know they will walk on day 57. And all children are different. It's the same as all of us are different too. We are going to adapt differently, take on, also manage our stress differently, certainly as Bridget will be able to tell us, manage stress differently, look at things differently. And so what I would like to encourage us is to say it's okay not to know, but to encourage people to get to know, okay? And that's when later, I think on the 13th, I'm talking about rules of engagement. How do we work it out? How do we discuss with each other what works, what doesn't work? But just to support each other in what it is.
So just on that note, I mean, I'm curious to find out who of you guys know and have done some sort of a personality test as it is. I mean, Guy, obviously you understand a little bit, Karen probably, Bridget, Colleen, but a lot of people have never done a personality test. And so just on that, on Friday, we have someone who's going to be talking. She's from Ireland. Well, she's not from Ireland. She's from South Africa, has moved to Ireland. Amanda Finnegan, Zara, you will know her. She's going to be talking about how to speak foreign. I love it when you speak foreign. The typical South African wimpy, I love it when you speak foreign. But it's about the love languages in business. So understanding each person's language is going to help with communication skills.
And a big thing with that is that when we work from the premise of, oh, you have to have an awareness, for instance, of I can be very abrupt. I can be jiff, jiff, jiff and kill you in 2 seconds. Okay. So it's about me being aware of that, and that if I'm going to get the maximum out of people, I have to learn to do the journey with the people. because ultimately we will get there. But if I squash people in block 1, then where are we? And as more and more, remember, the older people would know that you went to work or you went in a situation and it was, suck it up, this is your job, you don't have to like it, who cares, okay? Younger people say, excuse me, bye, and off they go. And more of our workforce are becoming younger people. They are students, they've got very different versions. So I have learned so much from my 22-year-old in that you can't just say, oh, well, just suck it up and like it, because they go, bye. And our retention is terrible in terms of keeping people, growing people, because off they go. Okay, so let's check in briefly because we have got a few minutes left. How are you? Are you in the, does it, what I described, does it feel like you are in a different universe? Are you going to wake up and it's just going to be that old one?
Hi, it's Mickey here.
Hi, Mickey.
Hi, I definitely believe it's not going to be the same. And what your topic about not knowing is fine because we don't know what's going to come. I do think, and what's the problem is thinking about what are we going to lose? Our patterns, what we used to. That's going to be gone. And it's, to me, it's going through a grieving process. All of us saying, well, I'm going to lose that. What I'm used to is not going to be. And how do I now open up and be agile and adapt to the new and know that I'm going the right way?
Yes.
And I think that's the question for me. How are we going to work that out? But just in a sense, to me, the one thing I know is just looking at it every day and saying, actually, what is good about my day today? What has come out of this that's actually positive? For example, this whole call we're on.
Yes.
That's to me a big positive.
And it's also about saying, look around me and knowing that whatever happens in 3 days' time, I will be perfectly positioned to be able to cope with it. Okay? And also the people I surround myself with, as we get to grips with the English, if I don't know, somebody around me will know. And I mean, I've seen, for instance, where I belong to BNI and we like look at each other and we go, oh, gee, what do we click now? What do we do? But together we worked it out. And just in 2 weeks, we don't bear any resemblance to the people we were at first on the call. And so it's a lot more of an adventure when you do things together and you have people to support you. And the approach of, oh, okay, I'm learning something new. Gee whiz, gee, I've never done this before, as opposed to, oh, yeah. So it is embracing the unknown. It's about embracing the fact that you are perfectly positioned. Inside you is everything you need. Gratitude is very important.
So for those that don't know, yesterday, my day 5 was absolutely terrible. Started off at 4 o'clock in the morning at the hospital because my man has been coughing for a few days and was wheezing at 4 o'clock in the morning. So off we go to the hospital and so my day 5 was exhausting, 5 or 6 hours at the hospital, coming back. At least we were sent home, but with vitamins only. He does have a spot on the lung, and so he's been tested for COVID. And so for me, that unknown yesterday had me in absolute tears because you don't know now what you don't know. Now, today, I had some sleep, which helped. So I think looking after ourselves, sleeping, eating helps with the unknown. But today we're like, okay, well, if it is, it is. If it isn't, it isn't. It's kind of already that, isolating him, I think is most difficult for him in terms of saying, you're not allowed to touch anything. We have to get you your coffee, tea. We take the coffee or cup, put it back, wash it, wash our hands, do the whole, making sure he's totally isolated at this point until we know. That's all we can do.
Thank you for sharing that, Nolene. It's funny how on some days we fun and other days we crash into spectacular heaps. And that's also okay. I mean, sometimes crashing in the heap is what gets us into the next day because we learn from that.
Letitia has said, I think it's time for everyone to grow and enrich. And it's time. Oh, there's lots of comments coming through. But for me, I think if we don't grow in this time, while we have an opportunity, we're not going to survive even mentally, whether we're employed, whether we're self-employed, it doesn't really matter. If we don't grow right now and learn to communicate in a different way, we're not going to survive whatever the outcome, whatever day it is that we finish off on.
Yes. And so that's just about an openness, where Haley says she feels strangely and nervously excited about the future, but realized each person has a different circumstance to deal with, and we need to just understand that how we feel now is not how the next person feels. The world has changed already, and we need to be flexible and adaptable. That whole flexible and adaptable is, but the flexible and adaptable is in, hey, I don't know, but I'm working it out. I'm finding out. Look at me. Yay, I can crawl now. Okay? And Nolene, Mickey's sending you massive virtual hugs and kisses, as we all are.
Colleen, can I say something?
Yes, Bridget.
Hi everyone. I work in the area of stress management, and one of the things that our brain is hardwired to do is when we're stressed, we're not meant to think. We actually go straight into survival mode where we react, and we often end up saying and doing the most inappropriate things when we're in a stress state. So change is one of the things that triggers a lot of stress for people. It also triggers anxiety, panic, fears, worries, etc. So I caught the back end of what Guy was saying earlier with his teams. When you put your teams and you kind of force them into something and you put a lot of pressure on them, when they are stressed, they're not able to think because they're not meant to think. So the way we communicate with people needs to be such that we, if we can as leaders, communicate in a calm way, so that the recipients of that message receive it in a calm way. So it's the tone of voice, it's the words we use, and it's the direction that we give them. So be mindful of this when you're communicating with your teams. If you notice that somebody is stressed, and unfortunately we live in a society where we think that stress is a badge of honor, that the more stressed we are, the more successful we are. The more stressed we are, the more important we are. And that is such a wrong message that we have for some reason taken on. So if you are stressed and anxious and fearful and worried and panicked, you're not going to be able to come up with creative solutions in any way, shape, or form, because you are acting out of survival mode. So I just wanted to share that. So maybe that's something that you can take away. And if you're not sure of what I do, Nolene and I had some challenges yesterday putting together the talk, and I can assist and maybe assist some teams. But Colleen, what you're saying is so important, in that the message needs to be received in the right way, and it's only going to be received in the right way if the message is conveyed in a calm way. I hope that helps and is a benefit.
Bridget, if I may at that turn, I don't know if everyone's on LinkedIn, but it's a great opportunity to connect with everyone on LinkedIn. And it actually helps the communication, I found. So if that's of any benefit to anyone.
So also moving from that is like, I was working with a rep the day before yesterday, and her maternity leave had just come to an end. So she's got a 4-month-old baby and a 6-year-old, and now has to go to work, back to work in the medical industry. And, you know, I could have said to her, oh, come on now, you've had one baby, now this is the second baby, it's the same thing, come on now, you know, but it's not the same thing. The context is different. Our lives have moved. She's got 2 children, not just 1 child. She's got, the first child went to granny, the second child doesn't go to granny. And so and we've now got a virus, okay? So she's going into a dangerous place every single day working in theatre to come back to maybe infect her children. So is there any surprise that she is stressed? So it's about working through that and just supporting her in it and acknowledging it, that yes, it is stressful, but today we'll breathe. Today we'll cope. Not like, oh, well, in 4 weeks' time, what are we going to do then? Hell, we may not even get to 4 weeks. Let's just do that first hour of the first day. And so my ultimate message today is to be kind to yourselves. You've stepped into a world that you don't know. For the people who join later, I've said, remember the folk of the faraway tree. where the different universe came around the top and you stepped out, and if you didn't get back through the hole in time, you got left behind. I think we've all stepped through the hole, and the universe has moved away and left us in this universe. We're not going to go back to the tree, but we're going to go back to something different, and we're going to grow in it. And please encourage each other, encourage yourself, because you know we're our worst, there's no best friend in our own heads, lots of it, is just to make sure that you support each other in the transition, not where they need to be. Hold hands, encourage in the coaching space, hold the space, go, yay, you can do it, look at you, Hayley, oh, I'm so proud of you, okay? Because that's what will get us through.
Okay, awesome. Does anyone else have a question or two?
Hayley
Doesn't
said, thanks,
seem like
Hayley.
it.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, you obviously will have known my contact details because you found me on LinkedIn. Yes, and I'm quite welcome to chat to anyone personally. Let's go do this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colleen. I appreciate your time.
Yes. And I'll say bye to everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.